So the thing that you have to do, the most important thing that everybody in your position, my position, and even I don't care who you are, is learn the word no. If you learn the word no, you can graciously excuse yourself from a lot of situations. One, you can say no when they come to you, but better you really know, KNOW, how to avoid being asked to say yes.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Jaded Mechanic Podcast. Mr. Greg Buckley, the world famous Mr. Greg Buckley of Buckley Auto Care. So,
Jeff, I hate the word world famous. It makes me sound like Kentucky Fried Chicken, world famous chicken. But no.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to date myself, but I mean, you're another, you know, I talk about like we were just before we just hit
Yeah, yeah,
people like Dutch and stuff like that. I knew those kind of names from way back before Facebook on
mhm,
IATN. So, I mean, yours is another name that I've seen on YouTube and in the circles for a really long time. So, I mean, this is you were on the list when I sat down. It's like, okay, I'm going to do a podcast, and I need to have some exemplary examples, as I said. Yours was a name on the list, and I just it's the last year's gone so fast.
yeah,
You were high on the list, but it's hard to get everything always lined up.
yeah.
So
It truly is. I appreciate it. I mean, I don't. I really don't look for anything besides
no,
just helping out. And
yeah,
you know, I've been at it for a long time, and I think what I guess a claim to fame would be that I really got involved with technology pretty early,
hmm
and uh, Ratchet and Wrench picked up a story with me and Google Glass, and it wasn't from the repair side; it was from I guess, the client side and how we present our talents and
hmm
stuff that goes wrong through DVI. And from that point on, it just kind of snowballed. And I suppose, and then I spoke for a while. I coached for a while at
yeah,
ATI,
yeah,
um, and I just try to be natural
hmm
and be like real about everything. And I just do my best, and I do what comes naturally to me.
yeah,
So, I'm fortunate. I've been mentored in the same circles that you're getting to know. I've known for quite some time, and I'm very blessed by that
yeah,
because these guys, men and women, are just phenomenal. And I've always said that we are the best people on earth. We're
hmm
salt of the earth. Um, we wear our hearts on our sleeve. I grew up with fixing cars for free, just as a favor.
yeah,
The old days. But that built a lot of character. You got to see a lot of why people are asking you to do it for free or for no charge. You're very close to the emotions and the
hmm
and the elements of life within your community. So, I've seen the changes. Where I mean, and I went through them.
yeah,
I grew up as a pump jockey, and 8 years old, starting off just pumping gas and getting to know people and learning all the things that you do about either selling or hey, would you buy premium instead of regular, or can I
hmm
check your oil? You need a quart, wiper blades, TBA, all that. But you also got to experience as I grew through the profession that every rung up was something different. You go into from the pumps to the lube tech,
yeah,
and now you're doing oil changes and you're experiencing the mechanical side of things. From there, you become a tech or a mechanic, and you're working on cars at a much deeper level. And then you decide to take on ownership, and then you go into an ownership situation. And there's a lot of transitioning that goes on there, and you change with it. And sometimes the change is good, but you always leave something behind.
yeah,
And, I experienced firsthand where from coming from a sales or from the pump side to being a mechanic and technician, the things you let go were important. And sometimes you don't realize that. Um, and like, can you check the air in my tires?
hmm
And you drop your tools and you run out and check air in the tires. And you don't realize that, yes, all the coaching companies will go, you can't do that. Your productivity, you'll lose all that.
yeah,
At the same time, you're going to lose that possible of gaining a client or a really good client that's come up and asking, hey, Greg, I got a really weak tire here. Can you help me out? and you're a one-man show or two-man show, and what are you
Yeah.
going to do? You have
Yeah.
to accommodate. There's things that go on that are so different. Um, I still, you and I shared a couple comments about what techs are experiencing versus owners, and you're starting to see both sides of it.
Mhm.
What I disdain is everybody chirping about their numbers,
Yeah.
and I don't get angry. I just think that they're misguided because numbers are just a reflection of what that particular business did. All right, and to me, a lot of it is vanity. It doesn't reflect on what you are treating your people like. It doesn't show you what
Yes.
community you're in. And guys will take that as a Bible and they'll go, well, I should be able to do that. And well, you probably could, but at what scale, you know?
Yeah.
And plus the fact that when you talk about money, like I teach my guys, I mean, the first thing I'm going to tell you when I bring you on board is we don't chase cash here. We don't chase money. We become so good that money we're attracted to it,
Mhm.
and there's a difference there, and so I think it makes a difference in how you run your business. So
Lucas makes, he keeps reminding me a lot lately, and it's becoming more poignant as I look and as I'm aging up and getting into this second side of the industry is
mhm,
money's not the doesn't immediately equate to success, right?
right,
It's a person's yardstick for some people, and that's fine. There's no fault on that, right? If you want to
hmm
be uh, own 4 stores and be an absentee owner and be able to live on vacation essentially, right? And there's
right,
no fault for that. That's nothing wrong with
no,
that. But I mean, for other people that, and he talks about it, his parents' generation where they loved to work. Probably your
hmm
father, as we were talking before you got in there, that just love to work. Like they don't want to not work. So once they have everything that they need financially, everything's taken care of, they don't see themselves as being like, what is growth? Growth is a funny thing. Like I see that all the time, and I even used it just a couple minutes ago in a conversation. I forget sometimes that growth doesn't immediately equate to success.
hmm
It's perception. And
hmm
Lucas, thank God, he reminds me of that a lot. That
yeah,
he's very comfortable where he is. He's very happy. He loves what he's building. It's stressful, right, as any shop owner,
hmm
but you know, I I wouldn't trade places with him. But I
right.
mean, I look at that example and I'm like, man, what an awesome way to do it.
Well,
So
it's true. I mean, but you still have to have balance in your life. If
mhm.
not, you really do get burned out, and what you thought you were going to create kind of shatters in little pieces very slowly to the point where you can't claw it back. So it takes a lot of attention, and there are ways of going about it that I think that are important. Getting down to the nitty gritty with that, uh, for me personally, is that I was fortunate enough to create with my wife two wonderful children, and they were the focus of my life and my mission and purpose until they got to the point where they had their own social circles and networks, and they're sustained with their own, you know, outreach or
Mhm.
sports and all that, and
Yeah.
we're beyond that. And then I was able to start doing a little bit more stuff for the industry and expanding a little bit and doing all of that. And I thought that was well paced. I think it was about, I was 40 maybe when all that started coming around. And I think it's really important that no matter what you do, your first responsibility is to the person that you are with the closest. And of course, the human beings that you create,
Mhm.
and I really mean that. And I think that that caring situation carries over into your business. You start looking at people as people, with everything that they have going on as well. So I don't know, it's just my way.
Yeah,
So
it's huge. It's when we see some shop owners talk about, it's a family, right?
mhm,
And then we see other shop owners and it's like they keep them at an arm's length. You know what I mean? Like um it's a professional relationship.
mhm,
And that's where I'm caught in the middle on some of this is because it's like I don't necessarily when an owner says, "Well, my customers are part of my family," I really go, "No," because that's
Mhm.
I've seen too many times your true family get sacrificed at the expense of what they think is the best thing for the customer, right?
Yeah.
See a lot of shops that spiral into failure because they get addicted to that hero mentality, that feel good, smile that you really help that person out, and that's great. It's what we're all should be
Yeah.
aspiring to be, as a servant to, but we can't do it at the expense of our staff,
Right.
So it's a funny word when I see it used as my customers, my family.
Mhm.
I see it used all the time as my staff, and I think that's great. Um, but I see sometimes where it's like it can happen because you see an owner and it's like they start working on the second generation. I've had Mrs. Smith's car here now. I have Mrs. Smith's daughter's car here. Her whole family, maybe even a grandchild now makes it into that age. And it's like, regardless of what we want to think, they're family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's a distant cousin,
Yeah.
but it's
True.
still a distant, they're
Yeah.
family. Like you're part of, like you said, that community. Um,
Well, I think that when you go back to what we were just talking about, the mom and pops,
mhm.
my dad, Lucas's parents, and
Yes.
thousands of other parents, they work their 7 days a week because they said they have to be there for their family clients, right?
Mhm.
Sacrificing everything that they've done personally. So that 7 day a week, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m., whatever it took, that was their way.
Yeah.
And I think it's fortunate because I learned from my son and son-in-law and this generation, look, you work to play and you need to have time off. And I think that I've had to learn to respect that a little bit more. And even today, if I answer an email or set up an appointment on a weekend, I get my rear end chewed out
Yeah.
by my son. Stay out of it. You don't need to do this. This
Yeah.
isn't what you're here for anymore. And that's hard to take.
Mhm.
But, I mean, and I'm dealing with it that I don't have to that's not my role anymore. And it hurts sometimes because you've been brought up and you've grown into, customer focus. Hey, what do you need? 7 days a week, answer an email, set an appointment.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not the way anymore. And I think it's good. I really do. Because if we're like, let's say an old dog like me, if we don't listen to the younger guys like and we don't listen to your concerns as a technician, or we don't listen to other shop owners who are younger and bringing new ideas,
Mhm.
we're not going to be around long. And if we are, we're going to be frustrated.
Yeah.
So we have to keep an open mind. We have to go in a direction that accommodates maybe a broader spectrum of ideas in order to succeed. And I think that's important that owners have that. I do believe that technicians should have it as well. We all need to see what this whole pie is about.
Yeah. It's I don't want to say the whole analogy that every generation comes in is works hard, like doesn't work as hard as the previous. I don't think
Mhm.
it's necessarily that's 100% accurate. I think it's harder is a relative thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, lots of the young people, like for instance, now the shop I work at, 4-day work week, you know,
Hmm.
um, no weekends ever.
Right.
That has become such a pivotal part of my culture in terms of who I will take a job with,
Hmm.
to never have to work a Saturday again.
Right.
That I can't even when I'm losing touch with the people that are still out there, sometimes working Saturdays,
Hmm.
sometimes working Sundays, sometimes working Fridays. And I don't fault them for it. And I'm not trying to say that every owner out there, hey, you need to go to a 4-day week, and like it works for us. It doesn't
Hmm.
work for everybody else.
Hmm.
But there's so much more that we have to be open minded to the idea of the people that are coming up, because they may want to work, 12-hour shifts, but just do 3.5 of them or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or they want to work 48 hours, but they want to have 3 days off,
Hmm.
or they want to work 7 days in a row and then have 5 off, stuff like
Right.
that. Like we have to be much more open minded to what the young people are coming in, because like I said, otherwise, um, it's going to be mandated down to us, and it's going to be we're
Oh,
going to
for
be playing a
sure.
catch up against the OEs on how they
Yeah.
operate.
Yeah, well, California's already what they're getting ready to launch a 36-hour work week as the maximum, and
Yeah.
then it's OT over that. So we're 32 hour, yeah, a
Mhm.
4 hour work week. Um, and the same, well, I think naturally the market's coming around to an idea like that, but it's got to work. Now you have the shops and the latest and greatest out there now is promoting a 7 day work week and shift changes and shifts. Well, there are people who don't mind working overnight. There are people who don't mind working 3 to 11 or the second shift or
Yeah.
whatever, or working Tuesday through Sunday and or Saturday and having Monday, Tuesday off. There's all kinds of ways to operate a business. There's many colors you can choose. It all depends on what the market is and what your talent will accept.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of us though, we appreciate our 2 day weekend off because that's when the world is off, and we want to have fun. I look at your firemen
Mhm.
and policemen. They can work a 3 day work week or a 40. What I forget. I was just speaking with a fireman, and his work day is like 36 hours or something like that. Three
Yeah.
twelves,
Yeah.
or yeah, 3 12s, and then he's off. And then he goes and does side work. you
Mhm.
know, so you know, they can enjoy that. But you can see the trend
Mhm.
is more time off, and I look at, and I don't know as a fact what our European brethren will work at, but I'm sure that a lot of that influence is coming from Europe and the amount of time off that they have. I think it results in productivity. What do we do? How do we do the same numbers and with less time? It's tricky, but I do see it coming as being very important in hiring great talent.
And I think our industry, just based on what it is we do, I know from a standpoint of like if I was to our shop was to market itself at more fleet based,
Hmm.
there'd be no way we could have Friday off. There'd
Right.
even be like they would be pushing us to be open on Saturdays because a lot of those companies maybe they only do a 4 week, but then they want that car fixed, truck, van, whatever, on Friday and Saturday. They
Hmm.
expect that it's like I need it back by Monday morning.
Sure.
Friday, I think with Europe, North America business industry, whatever, is so different, especially in our industry within the industrial, is that we can't go to working, I think, 3 days a week,
Right.
unless it's become staggered where, okay, maybe as the employee, you only work 3 days a week, but you're going to be open six because
Yeah,
people need that, time on a Saturday to get the car fixed.
they do.
I hated going in on Saturdays. It drove me crazy because it was always the workload wasn't there. So it was a
Mhm.
compromise that you gave up a weekday when the workload was there and you would make more hours to be there on Saturday. And
Right.
then you never got like if I was there Saturday, you never got Sunday, Monday because if
Mhm.
you sold a job on Saturday, you were coming in on Monday to finish
To
it,
do it. Right.
So it's split your weekend up, and then before long, it felt like that month was the longest month of the year
Yeah.
because you never got that kind of routine down of I had two and then I had two and then I had two. It was like it just
Yeah.
split it up. It felt like the month went forever.
Yeah. I think most of us really enjoy consistency,
Mhm.
and with scheduling and everything like that. So the 5 day has been comfortable. I don't see ourselves changing unless someone comes up and says, "Hey, I'll do 4 12s or 4 10s, and just give me 3 days off." Okay, I would look at that. Could it be a diagnostician?
Mhm.
Possibly. That's something that always negotiable. But I think that more time off, especially with the amount of, well, let's put it this way: how crowded is our headspace anymore with all the tech and stuff that we got to learn, and then training on top of that.
Yeah.
That becomes a mental situation where you should have time off. And the last thing I hate hearing is one of my techs will go and come back on the weekend. What'd you do? How'd you do? I went here, I went there. Well, I worked on my buddy's car in the garage. And I go, what the hell? What the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Come on. Tools are for the shop. Don't take them home. This is where you work. Bring them in. we'll work any way you want with them. We can help them out here, do this, do that, but just don't take your stuff home
Yeah.
and work on somebody's car. It's the last thing you want. So,
Yeah,
but it happens.
it's and it happens, and it's a funny thing because it's like I used to be, and I mean, I've done it. I've done it
Mhm.
when I was, on the lower pay scale at the dealership, and I had a lot of bills. I did it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it every weekend. I had a very small clientele, kind of almost like a fleet thing. Like I worked on everything he had, and it helped out,
Right.
but it sucked. Like it was, um, it never. You always wind up having to drive to like the Napa that's open till just noon on Saturday and get the one
Right.
thing that you didn't expect, or
Right.
like, we had to end up here. It's Canadian Tire, but you'd have to go to like AutoZone or O'Reilly's, same kind of thing, to try and buy something that the parts are wrong. Or it was always more work than you could have knocked it out
Right.
on a Monday to Friday thing. And
That's true.
so I don't fault the guys that do side work. I see when people go, well, you're devaluing the industry. Yeah, in some ways you really are, because it's like the old analogy, oh, I'll do that for a case of beer. Like, I mean, I like beer, but I've never done a job in my life for a case of beer. It's always been, I need
Uh,
cash.
I
You know,
know.
I can't buy groceries.
Most of the time it's like, well, we can drink a case of beer while I'm working on your brakes. And then that becomes a whole nother situation.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
And
you know.
so I don't fault the guys. And, you've probably seen it too. How many people, Greg, talk about they built their clientele into their business from doing something like that, like from side work at, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you see it. I mean, somebody who was, garage based and started off, but if they were legit in their mission, is that hey, that's where they had to start. Like anything else, you start out of a garage, and boom, now you're in 2 bays, 3 bays, four, and you're building. I don't find any fault with that at all. It's when you continue or you work backward, like you
Mhm.
have 2 or 3 bays, and then you're the owner and you're doing side work, or you're a partnership and you're taking jobs away from the one partner because you're not making enough in the partnership.
Yeah.
There's a distraction there, and you're just non-functioning.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really kills a lot. A lot of owners, I guess. I mean, I'm projecting here, but I've seen it too many times where partnerships like that will fail immediately, or the team gets a whiff of it, and then before you know it, everybody's doing side work and nothing's coming into bay, and
Yeah.
everybody goes, okay, well, I guess my toolbox are more important outside the shop than they are here. So
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's, I always used to read the comments in IATN and other places, and even still now it's happening. Where the guys are like, I let them bring anything in they want after hours and work on it, and
yeah,
like it. And it's one thing to say, "Can I bring mom's car in?" But it's another
right.
to say, "I'm bringing in somebody from Facebook Marketplace, and I'm going to slap some brakes on it." And I just never was really thought that that was the best thing to do.
That's an
You know?
absolute no go with me.
Yeah, yeah,
None. Moms, dads, kids, okay, but you need to ask first,
hmm
and you have to clock in, or you have to check in and check out, make sure that you are going to be responsible for that. So,
yeah,
and all of your parts that you purchase do not go on my
right,
tab. You
right.
buy them separately with your own credit card. You can take the discount rate, whatever they give you, but not on my
Yeah.
slips.
No implied warranty through you.
None, zero,
Yeah,
zero.
yeah.
So,
How big
but
is your facility right now?
both run about. Well, the one here in Wilmington is about 5,000 square operating space. We have about 1,300 that is used for equipment and meeting, and we just added 400 about 450 square feet for parts and inventory
hmm
and back end work. Millsboro is about the same. It's just laid out a little differently. It's it's an old. Well, it was originally an equipment barn
Okay.
that had been converted to 5 service bays, and so we now operate out of that. We have each wing contains two 9,000 pound lifts plus space. We don't have a lot of height in those, but the center lane is where our alignment rack and heavy duty rack is, and we are able to do, of course, alignments. Um, Anywhere we can lift a 450. We don't really go after that work.
hmm
But yeah, it's they're about the same in total space. Just that I have more room in Millsboro. I got 3/4 of an acre to park and
Yeah.
maneuver. In Wilmington, I'm a half, and it's a little tight just because of configuration. But yeah, they're pretty equal, and my teams are about the same size. I am actually onboarding a young tech here tomorrow
Oh,
in
nice.
Wilmington. Great, he's a great young man. Boy, I got high hopes for him. He's really cool. And then down in Millsboro, the following week, I onboard a young tech who he's kind of like in between. Do I want to be a technician or do I want
Mhm.
to be a pipe fitter?
Right.
And I'm trying to just okay. Well, look, I got 18 months to work with you because he already told me he says, look, in about 18 months, I may consider moving to Philadelphia to be a pipe fitter. And I know some of the guys in the hall in Philly and all that. And I go, well, it's a good choice either way, but let me see what we can do here.
Yeah.
Great attitude. Because I'm losing the one tech I had, the one young man, Jake, who's a 3-time cancer survivor, skinny as a stick, and he's slightly deaf from his operations. But this kid is just full of energy. But he's going to go to UTI in July, 1st of July, I think it's what his date is. So I'm losing him. I hated that, but good. He'll come back much better for it.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm waiting on a diagnostician from the Wilmington area who's got tons of experience. His sister is unfortunately going through some bad times with her health, so he called me, which was really cool. We had like a 2 hour interview, and this dude is like rock solid, man. I mean, he fits me like a glove in our
Good.
culture and all. And he said to me, "Look, man, I don't turn hours." I go, "I get it." And I think he's like 60 or 58, something like that. And I go, "I'm not
Yeah.
hiring you for. I'm not bringing you on for you to turn hours, man. I want your brain."
Hmm.
And so he's Honda certified, and he said he called me up. He was supposed to start, and he calls me up. He goes, "Hey, Greg, I don't think I can start the date that we wanted to." And he goes, I don't think it might not work out." And I go, "Hey, Pete." I go, "What do you got?" And he's told me about his sister, and he's well off enough to leave Millsboro area,
Yeah.
come back to Wilmington, and take care of his sister. I go, "You do what you need to do. I'm holding the spot." Because I said, "Pete, I made an agreement with you. You and I talked. We fit all over, both ethics, sports, the way we do things." And then I onboarded an amazing service advisor who has the skill sets that bring volume in or customer care.
Hmm.
So I'm going to hold out for him, and hopefully by the end of June we might be able to onboard him, and then I'll be a solid team like I have here in Wilmington. So um, that's one of the things that a lot of techs and even other small businesses don't really even understand is the effort that it takes to build a team and then groom a team and let that team work and build and mature to the point where you can take yourself out and let that thing go and just manage from here
Yeah.
and everybody get along. I think I've done a good job with it. I'm always trying to just improve upon it, but that's the big thing that I feel that we don't give ourselves. We don't have patience.
Yeah.
Either one. We don't have patience. I don't care what side of coin you're on. There's just no patience.
It's like
And
this industry just does that to people. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I used to be so much more ability to focus and be patient, with people or with learning a new task or something like that. And
mhm,
now, if it's not related to a car or fishing, I
mhm,
cannot keep my mind not only interested but patient enough to take it all in. And
right.
it's not a case of I don't respect the other person. Like what they have to say and feel is very important,
Mhm,
but it's just this industry makes it. I don't know if it's the point one block that we get trained to think on or what, but it's just like time is just an enemy now to me. I
yeah,
keep looking at it and it's like I should have had that done by now, right? Or this shouldn't take this long, or oh my god, I talked to this person for 10 minutes. Before I would have talked to a stranger for 10 minutes wouldn't have bothered me at all. And
right.
now it's like I'm like, okay, what's the end goal here?
Yeah, well, I think you learn that. I mean, because aren't you trying to expand and grow yourself personally,
Yeah,
right?
huge.
So, so the thing that you have to do, the most important thing that everybody in your position, my position, and even I don't care who you are, is learn the word no.
Hmm.
If you learn the word no, you can graciously excuse yourself from a lot of situations. And one, you can say no when they come to you, but better you really know, KNOW, how to avoid being asked to say yes. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yes. No,
Okay.
totally. And
So,
it's that's something that I wish a lot of people, you just came back from tools. We were just talking about that.
mhm,
And, people make the joke about Brian Pollock's going to teach a class called the stuff you didn't know. But I wish people, like, at some point, I think if we could just have a class that it's like, these are what you say no to,
mhm,
and five key points, and that's it. And we just hammer that in. Say no to this, say no to this, say no to customer supply parts. But then I think about, like, how varied this industry, going back to what we were talking about, the work week and stuff like that. There are exceptions to every rule that we try to make in this industry where people
mhm.
go, it works, and they show you proof that it works. You go, okay, all right. It'd be really tough, eh? Like, it would be really tough to just to say these are the three things, no matter what business it is, it fits in a nice little cute box. You always say no to, you know.
Well, I think you can with enough proof, but I tend to say it starts with you, the person.
Mm-hmm.
Your values and what you want to succeed have to come first, and that gives you an easier time of saying no to the things that you don't want to do. Now, I don't mean you would, if a a client calls you up that spends $100,000 a year with you, that you're not going to go down on a Sunday to fix a tire,
Yeah.
or you're not going to get them out of a jam that they're on the road stuck.
Yep.
That's that's an emergency call, and there's nobody in the world that I can think of that would say no to that.
Right.
But the other things that rob you of your personal time, that's the key. And they rob you of your personal time because you really don't have it set in your mind what's more important.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to weigh that out. It's difficult. It's not easy because everybody wants to be, involved. I think we're such a tight community that we always want to hang out with one another,
Yeah.
you know, and we can't do that if we are to be successful in our own avenues, as hard as that is. But you see it all around. I mean, I literally, like I said, I didn't start anything until I was really about 40. But then I had my years where, I'm going here, I'm doing that, I'm speaking here and doing this. And all of a sudden I go, wait a minute, I'm watching the other ones. I'm watching your other folks who we all know that are on the road all the time. They're doing this or doing that, and I'm watching them personally, and I'm going, dude, you're overweight, man. Daddy, when did the last time you seen your kids, man? When is this? I'm going, you know what? I ain't doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Not me. I said, I'm not going to be a road dog. I'll go to the events that I want to, and I'll command my time. And also, I'm going to ask to be paid
Yeah.
because my time is important. If you don't value that proposition, and it could be a dime or a quarter, or you could pay for the room overnight,
Mm-hmm.
then you really don't value what I want to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And you're just having me fill your seats. So if we start to learn that, just I think we'll all be better. I know from an owner's position, and I think from a technician's team side too, because techs have the right to guide the advisors, and I think a smart owner would accept input from technicians saying, "Hey, what can we work on efficiently?" I bring this to the table here to this conversation because right now in Millsboro, um, we're like a farm team in a sense. I don't take everything in
Right.
because I don't want my guys to fail. I want them
Okay.
to succeed. So we take in things that we know we can be good at, we can be great at, and succeed in the client's eyes and in the business eyes and their eyes. So we limit ourselves, and they know it. I tell them, I finally got my lead tech Matt, who he's a machine. He is a freaking machine, and I love this kid. This kid is big and loud, and he's just a lot of fun. But man, he's got a motor, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to. And he'll go and he'll find. Well, he'll see everything, and he'll bring in like a 1993 Ford I-beam suspension, and he'll go, "I can get that done." I go, "No, you can't. No, we don't have time to mess with an I-beam, right? We don't have. We're not equipped
Yeah.
like that. Oh, I can do it. I can do it." And I go, "No, you have to say no." Finally, he starts saying no to some of the really bad rust buckets that come in, not because we want to be ignorant. It's
Right.
because we have to have the correct space, time, and tooling to do it. And he's going, I think you'd be proud of me. I go, I am proud of you for saying no. So, we can learn, we can all learn the value of no. And you should have a list of what you say no to
Yeah.
and why you say no.
Those project cars just eat profit and time and space up like you wouldn't believe. We just
Yeah.
kind of finished one at the shop. Well, we didn't finish one at the shop. We had a 1984 Ram B250 camper van
Mm, mm,
for safety inspection. Right now, I'm in Ontario, Canada.
yeah.
The goal is for them to be able to drive it to British Columbia, the West Coast, essentially drive it to California, across the country. I have never made that trip in my life
Man.
in a car. I would not even like. I drive a 2015, and I'd
Hmm.
be like, "Ooh, what should I do to that thing before I get in and try to cross the country in it?" Right? Like that's just where my mentality's at. They
Yeah.
are completely like, and so we get all the safety stuff done. I drive it. The other tech drove it first, and I'm like, "This thing is not really running all that great. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of it's carbureted, right?
Ah,
It's kind of
man.
wanting to feel like the ignition's breaking down, like it'll shut off and start and give it back to them, and they don't even make it, you know, 5 miles from the shop, and
Right.
we're going to find it and bring it back, and you feel for them because it's like nobody really should be trying to necessarily make this a goal as a get in a 1984 in this condition and try to drive it across country
Yeah.
unless they've got piles of money and time, and we don't have either on this
Right.
particular project, right? So I understand where some of the owners sometimes it's like they don't want to crush that customer's their dream, you know. But man, they eat time. Like
Yeah.
it
Well,
is just
sometimes you have to. I
yeah.
mean, who if you viewed that, and I'm surprised you didn't mention it had control arms that were ripping off of the frame on that thing too. So,
Real
you know,
deal coil springs in it. Like I mean,
yeah,
they're
there
just
you go. So, what I have gotten my guys to do, if they see something like that, they alert the counter, and then we decline it.
mhm,
And if it takes that conversation, it takes that conversation because you are doing them no favors. In fact, you probably irritated them more by them breaking down 5 miles instead of 500 miles. They
yeah,
500 miles. Oh, at least we got 500 miles out of it.
yeah,
5 miles. What do you mean? I just left the shop.
yeah.
That kind of a thing. But when it comes to reality, we have to be able to say, look, you're done. And
Mhm,
and I had a Q, I forget what it was. No, a Toyota or Lexus GS470,
okay.
the small or the bigger SUV.
Yep.
You could put a champagne glass on this and not have it vibrate. You wouldn't. This thing would stay steady. That's how good it ran. I got it up on the lift. I did a video clip on it on YouTube that I could put my fist through the frame. And this was his baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, look, man, you ain't going. I can't work on this. I can't. I go one accident broadside, and you're really going to get hurt. I go. There might be some people who can redo this frame for you, but I can't work on it. I mean, there's nothing here for me to touch that I'm not going to break or damage. He understood, and he did get rid of it. But I think my first year down in Millsboro, which has a really salty environment, you're a
Mm-hmm.
marsh and sea and all
Yeah.
that, so a lot of people have had problems with moisture. And, I think there was like 10 cars we had to condemn. And it was just being honest with them saying, hey, look, I'm not going to have my team drive your car. Why
Yeah.
should you drive your car? That kind of a thing. So honesty works. And it also comes down to that word no.
Mm-hmm.
So, bring that up to your advisors and say, hey, look, man, I can't do this. Or refuse to test drive something. I mean, that's what my guys will tell me. And I would have to respect that.
It's tough though, Greg, because in a lot of the dynamics in the shop, when you go up to the owner and you go up to the owner might be the advisor and the owner might be married to the advisor, right? So in your family dynamic thing of that, and it's a lot of shops, I think that's why there's some hesitation sometimes for some techs to go up and say, I'm going to flat out refuse to do this or really take a hard line and a hard stance on some
Hmm.
things because it's like, that person behind the counter is the most invested because it is their business, right? And then you've got the team aspect of it, which is it's him and her built it.
Hmm.
It's really hard to be that person on the outside. I struggle with that sometimes because I mean, I say to my boss, we're going on a rescue mission to try and get this van to bring it back to the shop instead of paying a tow truck bill. And I'm, he's driving and the customer's giving us this whole, they don't even know where they're broke down. So they tell
Yeah.
us they're broken down at Parrots Bay and they're actually broken down at Collins Creek, which is 10 miles the
Whatever.
other way. So
Right.
we've been on a 30-minute wild goose chase looking for this customer. We find them, whatever. And I'm driving and I say to him, I said, Rob, you're a much better man than me. He just kind of laughs because he's like, he knows if the shoe was on the other foot and I was in the roles were reversed, I would have like not even, I would have been not very professional. I probably would have said, okay, well, the car is safe. The bill's paid. What would you like me to do?
Right. Right.
Whereas he's just immediately is like, get in the car, go find them, try to
Go
bring
find
it
them.
back, help them out. Great guy that way.
Yeah.
And that's why we complement really each other really well. But I mean, we struggle sometimes with trying to get on the same page and stay on the same page. It is really
Well,
tough sometimes.
think of it this way. I mean, if you talk to a diabetic that is in risk of losing a limb, and the
Hmm.
doctor comes up and says, "Hey, I can remove your toe and you'll be okay. But if you don't, you're going to lose your leg. Now, what
Right.
would you like for me to do?" And of course, you're going to take the toe to save the leg.
Yeah.
But you have to. It just telling people the truth. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that it's a more honorable situation instead of putting them in situations that compromise their safety and their time as much as your time and your safety. I really, and I get it. I get the struggle. I get, but learning to grow out of that,
Hmm.
um, I think you do a much better job for your clients than what you may feel you are doing. There's no insult. I think it's just good practice. Like you would have anybody tell you what you would do if you had a failing limb or you needed this attention medically or you had a tooth that was bugging you and
Yeah.
there's a million analogies to all this, but I think being honest with your client, showing them the injuries, letting them know how severe it is and why you as a professional are giving your best opinion and welcoming them to go get another opinion.
Hmm.
It's, that kind of a thing. So I don't know. Again, that's the way I practice.
When
So,
you kind of touched on about getting this technician that's in his 60s now and he's
mhm.
going to come over, are you really feeling the pinch of the technician shortage, or is that kind of
Yeah, yeah. I am in the Millsboro location.
any
Yeah.
of them? Yeah.
Wilmington seems to be okay. I mean, I've got my nephew is a great technician, a diagnostician. He's good. My Corey, I would put him as a lead as well. All three could be lead techs.
Hmm.
They're exceptional. They're very disciplined. They're great young men. My son-in-law leads. He's actually moving into more of a training. He's going to take both teams and keep them on their training. But in Millsboro and South, yes, there is uh, a gap in talent. Um, and I don't know if it's getting worse or better as the dealers, as in this gentleman's case, they're shedding the brain trusts
Yeah.
from the dealerships, which is just, I mean, Lucas and I talked about it at ETI, and we presented this case to the audience, and we just sort of like, okay, well, you're getting rid of them. We're going to take them in. I mean, this is the plan because I may have them for 5 years.
Yeah.
But in that 5 years, and he knows the goal is you're going to share your experiences and
I was just,
train. You're going to put your knowledge downstream to the other guys.
yeah, I was
There's
just
no
going to
question.
say,
And he's happy about it.
yeah.
Right.
Think
So,
of think of what he can pour into those younger minds.
oh my gosh. Listen,
Experience, training, approach on little tricks to that product line. Like I've said it 1,000 times. There's no replacement for that. There's so much
none.
things that you learn in a dealer that are not in the book and not in the service manual. And the guys that work on the same line, they all know the tricks. And sometimes
Yeah.
now we share that. But
Yep.
there's just so many things that we don't even think of. Little,
Right.
it's like me with Chrysler with the guys in the shop. Like I was showing him a wire diagram and I'm like, see that little
Mhm.
3-digit number there, that R85? Yeah. Well, that's a circuit number. Like when you're doing a
Right.
search, just use it. Don't even look for wire color. Just use that
Yeah.
number. And he's like, oh
Yep.
my God, that's so much faster. Yeah. It's just how I was trained. Somebody showed it to
Sure.
me and I'm showing it to them.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it's the whole, and the dealers around here are doing it too, where a lot of the senior guys, I wasn't the senior guy at the dealers around here, but I watched one and they kind of drove him out. And it's like, you're taking the best tech in the shop and driving him out of here because you think he has an attitude problem. The reality is that it's just like he deserves better than the way he's being treated, and
Hmm.
you're not going to recognize his value. And he went on to Honda, jumped product line, and was just killing it last time I checked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
some,
happening. It's
yeah,
happening. I mean, they're shedding cost, talent, expense, and they're going for the under 30K maintenance and services and gearing up for whatever they feel is coming down the road. Will EVs and hybrids be the maintenance things, or will they have to flip them? I don't say I have a crystal ball, but
mhm,
I from my experience at ETI, um, I made it known that if the manufacturers wish for us to be able to be their representative, then give us the title of authorized centers.
yeah,
Give us that permission. We'll follow your certification programs
sure,
for to make some models we want to, but give us that authorized title. I mean, traveling through Europe last year, all along the time I'm looking, yeah, a shop owner is going to look at another shop. I don't care what country you're in, you're
hmm,
going to look for that, right? And you're seeing on the wall, you're seeing the placards on the wall, authorized center for Lambo, Maserati, Fiat. All the placards are there, all the symbols and emblems. And I thought to myself, I said, okay, so this is the model that they want to, and I get it because you know why wouldn't you have, why wouldn't a manufacturer want a solid representative of their brand within the local community that they can be assured of a concrete 100% accurate repair
hmm,
from software to whatever breaks, whatever you need, whatever system has to go bad. So they realize it, they realize because we can't even use their logo. Technically we can't
right,
use their logo in any of our advertising, and I think that's bullshit.
yeah,
But because why can I put it on my car, that I can put the dealer's name, like whoever it is, with the badge, and I can't put my name with the badge, or I can't use your badge. I don't know. It just ticks me off. But they need to come around, and I firmly believe that if it wasn't for the dealer groups, that we would have this much more
yeah.
cozier relationship. They certainly put a wedge. I don't know how long that's going to go because the dynamics of the sales market is changing, and I feel that we will have our opportunities in the near future. So
It's funny though when you talk about that, how like they say they want, you know, um, a shop independent of the dealer group to
mhm,
be able to be like a satellite store, I guess you could use that term.
mhm.
But I listen to that and I go, well, if they would just fix their own damn culture at the dealership, they would already have that. They wouldn't need, you know what I mean? And I, from talking with so many technicians that I've talked to, it wouldn't be so hard to do. Just completely change the culture of how the dealership is treats their staff, and you wouldn't have to be reaching out to an independent shop going, listen, like we can't service all of our customers. We need you guys to pick up some slack, and here's some parts, rebates, and we'll let you have all the OE access information software.
Yeah,
You put our symbol on your shirt, and your satellite. So
right.
if they would just change the damn culture at the dealer,
Well, I think that if I look at from, and I'm not a dealer. I don't, I've
yeah,
never been part of a dealer group or worked for a dealer, but here's my thinking as business. If I had a business to start and I could live off of F&I and sales and selling of parts, would I do that, or would I put up with all of the labor aspects that go underneath of service and maintenance?
yeah,
I would
sure.
I would take the
Yeah,
first one, right? In, out, boom, boom. I have residual coming in, 30,000, 40,000 miles. Hey, can I get you in a new car? Which is what they try to do anyway.
mhm,
But you could have a successful operation. And I really think that, you know, again, this is me projecting what I think the market can do or will do, is that I think dealers will go more towards leaning on their profitability from F&I and and sales. They'll get a cut, whether it's virtual or it's an on-site sale. That pie can be broken up in many ways, and I firmly believe that, more of the service will be pushed out to the open market, and especially if new cars come in with open warranties or open, like a third party warranty, that kind
Mhm.
of a thing. Um, I don't know. In no way do I think that we're never going we'll ever run out of work.
Yeah.
It might be different, but we're going to have work, and we're all, and I mean all of us, are going to have to change the way we think about what transportation is going to be like and where we're going to fit into it. I'm really big on multimodal transportation situations. Been on a couple of transportation boards, learning how they're building roads, why, where, and when, what they want to interject into certain areas, because that kind of a SWOT makes you think about, well, where am I going to fit in this, and what do I need to do? And in some cases, it just opens your eyes to where people above us are not in our normal circles or thinking, but yet it's going to affect us at some point.
Yeah.
So, I think being prepared that way it's been beneficial, if not just for keeping it in the back of your mind or learning something new. So,
Yeah, I said a long time ago, I think what we'll see dealers become is more like it's just a car lot and there
mhm.
won't necessarily be a service bay. And you'll drive in similar to a trucking agency. Like the trucking, you'll pull in and the rig is, in reduced power, whatever. And
Yeah,
you pull in and it's like you'll get into another one that you lease, the company leases, and you go on down the road and you never know what happens to that one. Like
right.
you pick up your bag and you go, because it's just going to be, if they can't, the wait times are so long already that I'd love to know the numbers on how many people walk in to get an appointment made or repaired, and then they walk over to the sales department and make a new deal and they leave
Yeah,
that on trade. It must
sure.
be, Greg, it must be happening a lot more than it was 10 years ago,
I'm
you know?
sure of that, because sales are, they're desperate for sales, and now
Mhm.
they're introducing rebates again. Or not rebates, but they're lowering the prices. They got their sales going on. So yeah, they need to move the metal. The factory's got to keep turning, and we're creeping up in age. We're 12 and a half years now, I think, on the average vehicle,
Yeah.
and people are now into the I don't want to spend mode because I want to clear out my debt. So, like I said, we have a decent run coming with us right now, or riding with us. Um, when does it end? I think interest rates coming down in the next year may help. I don't know, but people seem to be reinvesting in their vehicles like I've never seen before. Our average tickets are higher. Our rates are going up. I just think that we have a good thing. We have a good thing. Anytime, I've always felt that, us as an industry, if it rolls, we can fix it.
Right. Yeah.
you know,
1,000%.
if someone said, "Well, what do you do if there's no more cars?" I said, "Well, I'll fix bikes. I don't care.
Mhm.
Tractors. It doesn't matter. I can fix anything." We're a very talented group.
Yeah.
Our value, and a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people really take into consideration what our overall value is to the transportation grid. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, we really do have value. We just don't push that envelope out to the general public and to the legislators in our areas to confirm, hey, look, guys, you know what? We could all, if we all collectively would say we're shutting down, there'd be some problems,
Hmm.
and I- we just don't pull that lever. For one reason or another, I guess because we're just as quote unquote independent, with different ideas and different views. But we really start have to recognizing what we truly are to the grid, and how important we are. And then with that, I mean, we should make it known, um, to our larger trade groups that represent us. And I explained this actually just yesterday. Yesterday was what, Saturday? I think, yeah, Saturday. I don't, thinking it was Friday. I had a little bit of a little meeting with Sherry Hamilton and some groups up in PA, and even the ETI. I said, messaging, man. We have got to let people know what we are, who we are, and what we do. We just we pride on ourselves as I don't know, I'm a mechanic. I can fix anything, and we don't let people know that the skills it takes to fix that problem. And I don't know why or what or how it can change, but we certainly need to do that. And one of the things Sherry asked me and another shop owner, what would be one thing that would help us get that? And I had to be honest. I looked at every angle and I said licensing.
Mm-hmm.
I said licensing will get us an extra $30 to $40 an hour. It'll differentiate the ones who have it to the ones that are in your backyard under a shade tree. And it will leverage us to be a career, something that someone who's looking for a career. I can be a licensed technician. I can be a licensed electrician. I could be a licensed HVAC guy, right? They all have licenses, and you have to follow rules. But it also, I think, it presents a career path of saying, oh, there is a badge I can get, not an ASC certification that you can read a book and you can go down and take a test and get it. No disrespect to ASC, but the bar is not difficult in a sense, and I mean that respectfully. But a license, if you're a licensed technician, a licensed electrician, you have to follow protocols. You're able to work on government vehicle. You get contracts. I just think that the whole thing would be a lot different, a lot better. But that's
It's
my opinion. I know there's guys that say, "Hey, no, we don't want government in our world."
and that's been a popular topic lately because I mean up here, like I can't go to work as a technician if I didn't pass the trade exam,
Right,
if I didn't become licensed.
right,
So when I talk to so many people down there, I don't think they realize the scale of how many more untrained, uncertified people are actually operating every day versus up in my corner of the wood. Yeah, like even we have backyard mechanics up here.
hmm
For the most part, they're licensed mechanics that either just retired or they're doing side work,
right,
right?
right,
We're down in other spots. That person has no training, no protocol, no process that they're forced to follow. It's whatever they feel is the right way to do the repair is how it gets done.
yeah,
It doesn't solve all the problems up here, but you're 100% right. And I don't know if it necessarily brings up the pay. But because the reality is like if you can still go and buy parts to put on the car from anyone with no license,
hmm
it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's forced to charge at least $500 to do a brake job.
right,
Because if I want to go to the local parts store and buy a set of pads and rotors for $150, they don't ask me who's putting them on. They don't. They don't even care. Sold $150 for the brakes. Cool. Ring the
hmm
cash register. So I don't think it necessarily brings up the pay level, but what it does mean is that it's like for that car to be sold to another person, it has to be inspected, certified by a licensed tradesperson.
right,
So think about all the car lots that are having really sketchy things being done
hmm
or doing it. And how do you process that? You can't walk in there and who do you point the finger at first, Greg? You can't. There's no one there because they're not forced, mandated to do anything to
correct,
say this level of competency
right,
by my technician to perform this repair. I don't know if the government. I David hates it. I think the government is gonna mandate it no matter what. I think it's just inevitable. I don't necessarily love the idea that everybody might look at my country's way of doing it and go, "That's the model we want to use," because I
yeah,
can show you where there's holes. Mostly lack of enforcement. Right? There's a lot of people right now that are working in the trade that their license is expired. They went to write their final, they couldn't pass. People continue to keep them on because they could do the job, like they can
hmm
turn wrenches.
yeah,
Um, but I think with where we're going with the technology now and the insurance side of things, they're
hmm
going to force it whether we like it or not.
I think
And
so. And,
the
and I think that we should do it in house instead of letting it
yeah,
being mandated to us. We have to have a collective group um, that is in our corner. And I could be wrong here, but as I explained to Sherry and the others Saturday, is that I think we do not have. We used to have Bob Redding of ASA work the Washington routes. I don't think he's there anymore. I don't know who else is taking that. fight to legislators, especially to Washington. And locally here in Delaware, I know that there's no one that is pushing our agenda or an agenda that we wish to have.
Mhm.
We can, we're fortunate that we know enough people that we could do it if we want to. But I think it has to start nationally at our larger trade groups, the one that we, look forward to having them represent us.
Yeah.
Um, I could be wrong in all these cases, but I clearly don't hear anything coming from that, except for the banter or the chatter of right to repair, get behind right to repair. Well, that fine, but there's more to it than just right to repair.
Oh, so much more.
Yeah, there's
So
a
much
lot
more.
more.
Right to repair is information access.
Yeah,
Uh, But and who was I speaking with somebody the other day, and I'm like, oh, I was talking about it shop, and it's like they can make it so that you can access it, but they can
yeah,
put it at such a price level that it isn't worth it.
right.
And then what do? They still have a collusion on the particular repair or the type of technology repair that we want to do,
Hmm.
and they've completely complied.
Right.
And that's what should scare a lot more people is that it's like, the whole thing that went down with Nastiff and everybody lost their
Hmm.
ever loving mind and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I get where they're coming from, but I mean, we're talking peanuts, like
right.
small chump change to be able to operate. And
Correct.
I realize that a lot of other people wasn't like, well, listen, it's not just about the money. It's about like maybe I don't qualify.
Well, you don't. Who's now? That's not my problem
No,
that
and
you don't
it's
qualify, right? I mean, there may have been things in your past that you did that will not allow you to qualify. That's was your personal situation
yeah,
back in any time that you give yourself. But I really, I found that to be really insultive,
mhm,
because all the members of NASDAQ, they're longtime colleagues. They've been in this for quite some time. They've sacrificed personal time and livelihood in order to get us to the table in an equitable manner. Or is everything going to work out? Hell no. But to degrade somebody and to criticize them and call them money, that it's all about the money, and question their ethics behind this,
yeah,
it's insultive. And I can't stand it because we are here to work together, and it's going to take small steps to do that. And they've worked 10 years just to get one small step. And from again, from my time at ETI, listening to these guys, they are ready. They are ready to do things with us that, I mean, we would never have had an invite if it wasn't, I think, Dutch and Lucas to go out and say, hey, why don't we bring in some independents? And they say, hey, cool. Well, now the proposal was to bring an independent advisory board into ETI, and they're getting ready to. Well, they've launched their European
mhm,
division, so organization. So if we can become part of the conversation instead of just underneath the table, we'll be much better. But you cannot insult, you can't degrade and tear down the people who are trying to make the best effort. And if you think it's about money, man, here's what I tell you. If you got a big mouth and you think that you're the right person, step up, pal.
mhm,
Step in. Get yourself, ruin your life, take all the time, forget all about your
oh,
YouTube and all that other stuff and what you do. Get in get in the box, man. Just get in. Shut the hell up and get in the box.
yeah.
And if you can't, then just shut up and go away. I really get pissed. I really do. And sorry for,
No, it's
but
okay.
it
It's
really
all,
gets me irritated because you're just insulting good people, and that's not what we're here for. So
and it's not. I don't think it's about like people go, well, it's going to cost. I have to incur so many more costs onto my customer then. If
okay,
you explain to the customer that listen, this is about security and the fact that like sure I might be able to get you a key and cut it for $80,
right,
now that it means that I have to go and do this and it's going to cost you $210, and I know it sucks because it's an old car, blah 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 blah, but here's the reality. If this technology wasn't here, somebody could just go and you know walk past your car with an antenna, pull a
yeah,
number, create a
right,
key, and steal your car. Now
right,
I understand cars get stolen with guns every day. I
right,
get it. There's car guy. But what we have going on up here where I am is like two things are happening. People are either walking past, they're screening your that's not the right word, but you know what I mean. They're
yeah. They're
calling your
lifting.
key,
Yeah,
they steal your car, it
yeah,
ends up in a shipping container, or they're kicking in the front door of your house armed and they're taking the keys from you and stealing the car. So
Right.
yeah, the car's going to be stolen if they want it bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea
Sure.
that it's like some guy with some hacked stuff from China can go and steal 5 cars on a street somewhere because we have not, as an industry, stepped up and said, no, we need to really put some security features on that technology.
Right.
To me, it's just laughable, you know,
Yeah.
because the first thing that the customers look at us is they look at the OE, who we,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, do represent because we work on it. We don't make them aware. And they go, I couldn't believe it was so easy to steal my Kia or my Hyundai.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's we're supposed to be stewards for the customer. We're supposed to be
Absolutely.
advocates for the customers that say this is what is a weak point on your car, this is a strong point. If we don't tell them and wait until it's too late, the car's been stolen, how many more customers would have put their hand up and said, is there something you can put in my car to make it a little bit harder to steal? Oh, sure, $300. I'll gladly pay that.
Sure.
Right? Just
Yep.
for the lack of convenience or the loss of convenience.
Right.
I
Or if their insurance company would come to us and go, "Hey, can you retro this car? Can you do this? Can you help this person out?" And they get a discount. They get a good driver's discount. What about a good security discount?
Yeah.
You know what I
Sure.
mean? So
Exactly.
there's things that we can do, but we got to be part of the we have to want to be part of the conversation and get involved with this. We cannot be on the sidelines. And again, we can't tear down our own type.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
It's
So
hard to get so many of us on the same page about any topic, though. Like we were looking at the safety standards that we have to do up here, going back to when you safety a car, right? It's very
yeah,
clearly written what passes and what fails. And even like we look around the shop and we look at the car and it's like, oh, he failed that. And I go, I'd pass that.
mhm,
You know, it's things like that. And it's like, why would I pass that? Well, because for 20 years I've been passing that. And then they go and
right,
change the standards, right? We are our own worst enemies when it comes to everybody being able to cut and dried on the same page about what is okay and what is not. Oh, I'll
sure.
machine a rotor. I won't. You know,
I
as an
won't.
example,
No,
like
not even
you know,
close.
I'll slap pads on an old rotor. Oh, I won't do that.
No, I won't
Like,
do that either.
but
Right?
people
Yeah,
are always wanting to defend their method
right,
as if it should be the only method, and it's like
right.
your method works for you and your customers. Cool story.
Yeah,
Like, but we have to be looking at, and it's gonna be offensive to some people. We have to be looking at the people on the forefront,
hmm
and whether we want to admit it or not, they're the leader, and they should be the example that should be trickling down.
hmm
And you know, in our industry, I think it's because it goes back to so many of us had to eke and scratch and fight to build what we have. We don't want to look at the person with any kind of respect and go, big deal. They've got 4 shops. And, you know, that guy,
yeah,
it's always, well, they rip all their customers off. They mark up parts. They
yeah,
rip
yeah,
people
yeah.
off. Like,
Boy, that's a bad idea. Marking up parts. You kidding me?
yeah. I mean, I've got so much traction in some of my, with this platform of being having those conversations with people where it's like, you know, either I went to the quick lube and I went there for an oil change and I walked out with an $800 bill,
Yeah,
or, you know, my shop owner that I've been taking my car to for 5 years, all of a sudden I found out is ripping me off because he's charging me more than what I can buy the part for $400 on.
right. Yeah,
Like those kind of conversations have been so um,
numerous.
telling about
Yeah,
how so many of us are fragmented in the different ways we do everything, you know?
true. Well, it all comes. I really believe it comes down to what your own economic situation is. Many of us shop owners can tell you that a lot of service advisors will write from their own pocket,
Mm,
and if they're not feeling wealthy or if they're not feeling comfortable economically, they're going to shortchange the ticket because I can't charge them that much. I can't do that. And so a tech comes in and goes, "Well, where's my hours? Where's my time?" And I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I just they don't have the money for it. Well, how do you know that,
yeah.
right? You present what the ticket should be in a fair manner and based upon the rates that your shop needs. So I find that everywhere there's empathy that turns into real sympathy, and then you've lost a ticket or you lost a profit on that. The tech lost hours, those kind of things. Um, but I really think that over the course where we're getting where I see everything is you got to remember that driving is a privilege and not a
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
And I think that as these safety situations come at us more and more, we're going to have to start to present these cures and the reasons why we need to do this more frequently. And will our motorists be happy about it? No, but as you say, if you explain it to them that I'm going to make your car more secure and less susceptible to theft, they'll go, all right, I get that. All right. And I think we just turned the corner a little bit, but that's an evolution of where we're at, right? I
Uh-huh.
mean, we're not
1,000%.
fixing the broken wheel or the stud or the A arm. Now we're updating their software in order for them to be more secure and comfortable riding down the road.
Yeah.
So again, it's an evolution of what we are and who we are and where we fit.
How do you tackle that as an owner?
Mhm.
How do you tackle that empathy problem?
You know, I have had a few, and the way that I do it is I really do look at the numbers, and I tell them, I go, look, I'm not here at the counter with you, but I can tell you that your performance metrics aren't equal here. I go, why do you sell and your ELR is this rate or your GP is this rate versus your partner here who is, at this scale. And so we get to talking, and then, it's you get talking outside of business, and you
Mhm.
talk about, hey, are you okay? What's going on in your world? Is the car payment being paid? Is the home mortgage being paid? How's the family life? And then once they start opening, you can put two and two together, and you can start seeing all this. Um, that's about the only way I can. I mean, I don't know of any other way of doing it besides if you went by strictly numbers, the person would not be working, with your team. And in some extent, I did have to remove or let a guy go. He's got a lot of experience, but he was doing it quite frequently, and then he was also allowing his friends to come in at a fairly discounted price. And then I go, all right, one plus one equals two, and that means that you're out.
Yeah.
So things can't be helped in some instances, but that's the way that I do it. I mean, there's numbers and then there's discussions.
Mhm. And that's advice for people that are employing advisors. What about from the shop owner standpoint? How do you address and kind of guide them towards being less empathetic? You know.
Well, you have to, be really really kind of like clear with this in a sense, but if you explain to them what you're doing with your business and the profits that are there for the business, and it can come down to the point, well, it's you or them. I mean, to be hardcore about it. And I go, I cannot afford to give you what you wish if you cannot operate under the terms that I have and what this business needs. And that's being a little bit more transparent with the numbers, showing them what they have. And hopefully it gets through, and they think and they understand why selling out of your pocket or discounts, are harmful. I mean, I just sent my monthly results to my two teams, and I showed them, and we had a record month in Millsboro. We really blew it
Awesome.
out, and our year to date uh, comps on our discounts, and that includes true discounts and warranties and rewards programs. So all that's bundled up. But we had a big jump of like 228%, and that sounds crazy, but in 23 we had none of that, and then we implemented rewards, and it gained, but we still had record months. So I explained to them in the notes, and I said, look, guys, let's try to work on the discounts and, the comebacks and warranties. They're affecting the ELR and they're affecting our discount rate. So we agreed. All right, we're going to start looking at why this discount is there. Did we double a discount? Did you come in with a rewards and then you had a coupon and,
Mm.
whatever. So that's the way we're approaching it, just to make sure that we're on track and we reduce that. And for me, uh, I think we still ran like about a 10% ratio between what our discounts were versus what our revenue is. Um, and that's fair. I think that's normal, but we'd like to be able to, like, anywhere from 5 to 8% in that zone. So it takes talk. Again, transparency, talking,
Yeah.
letting your team know. You don't put yourself on an island. And
Mm.
even though my name is on the buildings, that don't mean crap. I don't care. I mean, we're here for numbers, and we're here for everybody to have a good lifestyle, and I'm proud to say that, in Wilmington, um, every guy owns their home.
Nice.
Every guy owns their cars. Uh, they're all stable. And in Millsboro, I'm growing the team to look for those goals the same way. My advisor is the only one who is married and has his home. The other ones are all young and single, but they're starting to understand the finances, the personal side, and they're making decent wages. They've never made this much money before,
Yeah.
which I'm proud to say that, hey, look, that's what we're bringing to the table, and they see that. And Jeff, it's like anything else, man. You want to rally underneath it. You want to keep that thing going, right? And
Uh-huh.
so they're pumped, man. They're like, I can't wait for Monday. I mean, really, it really is. It sounds crazy, but it truly is a hell of a dynamic down there. It's fun. It's fun for me.
Yeah.
So,
I sense that. Yeah.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah. It's a lot to build, I
Mm-hmm.
think, right? It takes
Yeah.
dedication, and it speaks a lot about you for the fact that, like we were just saying before we got on, you were at Tools,
Yeah.
this week you just came home, and you haven't been home hardly any length of time, and you're already sitting here talking with me about this. And I mean, I wish that I could get more people to understand the effect of what going to an event like that
Mm-hmm.
is, because like you said, none of us are an island, not anymore. Like, you
Right.
don't have to be. That's the thing. If you so choose to be, you so choose to be. But I mean, just I still shake my head at the amount of people that I meet that don't know about, that never knew about IATN, that don't know about ASOG, that don't know about changing the industry. And it's like, why do you want to fight it yourself? Why would you
Yeah.
not want to latch on to so many people that have been through it,
Sure. They're
and
done that.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's streamlined your trip so
Right.
much faster.
Yeah.
It's been life changing for me to be just to go. And I haven't gone to a ton of events,
Mm-hmm.
but just to be able to go to the first one was like, holy jumping. There's so many other people that think just like I think. Like, they see the potential.
Yeah.
It completely changed my life from a negative to a positive. And I don't always live in a negative. I never did. It's like
You
there was
mean you're
one.
not David Roman?
the most
No, just
misunder-
kidding, Dave. Just
the,
kidding,
mo-
David.
the most misunderstood individual in our industry.
I
With
know he is too.
question.
He's great though. He is.
Yeah,
He's funny.
but it was not a case of always wanted to be. It was just there were so many days where it was like you felt like you had no traction, like you
Yeah.
made no progress, and
Right.
then one little thing happens and you see a little bit of a ray of sunshine, and you're like, okay, good, the sun's coming up.
Yeah.
And then to go to an event where you can network with so many people was massive. Did you get
Well,
a when you were there? Who did you get a chance to visit with? Like,
um, well, the guys from Shop Genie, and I actually got two problems solved with that. So that's going there. Of course, Bryce Evans of
mhm.
Auto Service Leaders, PJ, couple shop owners, Keith Katz, Dave from Autel, Kip.
Okay,
God, my brain fart here. Um, yeah, and a host of others. I mean, in my short time. Andrew. God, I can't remember Andrew's last name at the moment. From Fact, anyway, he stood me up for breakfast. I'll
okay,
never forget that. I'll have to get on his case. But yeah, it was good. And for me, when I started off as a shop owner, beating my chest over that vanity number that I talked about earlier, I went to a couple of conferences, and I really got my ass handed to me right away
hmm
because you're chirping about the big number, and they go, well, what are you taking home? I go, well, nothing right now. So, you know but I'm doing this amount, and I'm really proud of what I did and all that. And you look and you go, well, I really ain't got shit. But anyway, it was funny because that's where you start to say, okay, keep your mouth shut and learn how to make profit and do the right things. And if you don't go to these conferences, we all have our online forums that we go to, but there's nothing like shaking a hand and making a friend and building a relationship. So sometimes you do have to make the effort to go. I'm fortunate it was right up the street. Well, it's an hour and a half from here, and Brett had persuaded me because you got to come up. You got to come up. I go, okay, Brett, I'll make the exception. ETI, Dutch, and Lucas, and Brian Pollock, they said, you have to go. You
Yeah.
have to go. And I go, all right. And it was just by chance. It fell in line with my schedule. And my wife and I made a little vacation out of it before and after. And it was the best decision I've made. I thank those guys all the time about getting me to go because it was such a high level conversation that I was like, wow, I never knew this was going on. And they're the that's the difference
Mm.
of going and not going. And you don't have to go to every one of them, but being selective, finding out who's going to be there, and just getting out and network and seeing some faces all over again. That's what's really cool. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I won't take up any more of your time. I appreciate you coming on. I know you want to probably unpack and see the family and whatnot, but I mean,
yeah,
I appreciate you coming on here.
sure, I
I
love
mean,
it. Love
yeah,
it. Thank you for the invite.
yeah. I mean, we'll have you on again for sure.
Yeah.
You're a great perspective on moving forward. What so much of us sometimes we even forget we need to do, and I'm
Well,
I'm
I,
blessed to
I
have you on.
profess, Jeff. It's and to everybody else, it's just being human. It
Yeah.
really is. There's no other simple term that I can put it as. But if we don't really respect one another, and what we do for each of us, for us all to succeed, then we'll fail. Um, there's a book out, and um, I want to make sure I get the title right. It's "Thou Shalt Profit," and profit may seem like a dirty word. It's by a rabbi,
Okay.
and it does offer context to what the Torah will do, but more so, more so, it's a great business book. One that should be understood by everybody because there are workers that will always remain a worker, and then there are owners, and the two must respect one another in all ways in order for them to succeed. And he describes everything under, I can't really say a religious context, but he does put parallels to certain verses and certain things in both Torah and other aspects of it
Hmm.
throughout the book. It's very long. The audio is fantastic because it's his voice. But I've presented it on Change the Industry a
Okay.
couple of times. I gave it to Dutch. It's a good book. It's probably one of the best business book that doesn't really seem like it's a business book, more so, but it's from the basis of all of the things that this rabbi talks about, and I really recommend it highly. Yeah, so I'll leave with that.
Awesome. I appreciate it. All
Sure,
right,
man.
we'll let you go, and we'll
Okay.
talk to you again soon. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, buddy.
Hey, if you could do me a favor real quick and comment on, and share this episode, I'd really appreciate it. And please, most importantly, set the podcast to automatically download every Tuesday morning. As always, I'd like to thank our amazing guests for their perspectives and expertise, and I hope that you'll please join us again next week on this journey of change. Thank you to my partners in the ASA group and to the Changing the Industry podcast. Remember what I always say, in this industry, you get what you pay for. Here's hoping everyone finds their missing 10 millimeter, and we'll see you all again next time.